I hope you have a great summer, and that you have moments to look up at the sky and think about what is out there, or why not what's already here. Stories Lost has quickly gained an amazing community, and I am so grateful for that. You are very active in sharing your own experiences and in other ways contributing to what constitutes Stories Lost. Please keep it up. I'm also glad that there's such a respectful tone in our comment sections, which makes them easy to moderate. Everyone should feel comfortable here. Together, we fight the stigma associated with sharing experiences of the unknown. The Nordic summer nights are magical. It's no wonder that there are lots of stories about fairies, trolls, and wood nymphs that emanates from these countries. Especially famous in Sweden is the Nix. The Nix, or Näcken, is a mythological creature from Scandinavian folklore who is known for playing enchanting music on the fiddle, often while sitting naked in a stream or brook. His music is said to lure people, particularly children, to come closer, where they risk being drowned. But the Nix is not just fiction. It represents the true danger of tempting your fate and shows how beautiful scenery might lull you into a false sense of security. Behind the veneer of the seemingly tranquil and harmonious, there is always the risk of predation, survival, and sudden change. Do bright nights of summer reveal the secrets of the dark? This story takes us all the way back to 1958. And it's interesting because the observation was made by a person who likely hadn't been exposed to phenomena like flying saucers and aliens through any sort of media. Observations from that time therefore have something innocent about them. However, it should also be said that the stigma around talking about such experiences was much stronger back then than it is today. We pull our story from the Swedish magazine UFO Information, issue number 4 from 1972. The man who experienced this tells the magazine himself about what he went through 14 years earlier. At that time, I rented a small house from a farmer in Härja, Västergötland. I lived there with my family. The house was, as I said, small, and I therefore slept in the kitchen, an arrangement that wasn't entirely uncommon in the past. I was on vacation and allowed myself to pass evenings in bed and read late into the night. My craving for tobacco was just as strong at night as during the day, so I reached for my pipe and matches. At the same time, I glanced out the window, purely by chance. I then saw someone heading to the outhouse. I thought it must be Oscar, the farmer I rented the cottage from. I lit my pipe and picked up the book, but soon I got an intense feeling that someone was watching me. I turned my gaze back to the window, and to my horror, I was staring right into a face half a meter away. My brain quickly tried to rationalize the sight. It must be a human. It must be a tramp, I thought. It must be one of those vagrants who were skulking about the countryside and sneaking into barns, stealing a few hours of sleep unannounced. When I looked closer, there was something very strange about this figure. The face was surrounded by some sort of helmet that shone with a blue, cold light. The figure wore some kind of overall that shone in a similar way. Soon I noticed how short the figure was, like a boy of 11, 12 years old. The skin of its face was very light, and a pair of large, completely black eyes stared intensely at me. I froze in motion and was hypnotized by the being's intent gaze. For what could only have been seconds, but felt like minutes, I was immobile. My eyes were transfixed on its face and its cold, dark eyes. I felt the ice-cold fear drizzle down my neck. Suddenly, I broke free from my paralysis and the creature quickly left the window and ran away. I decided to chase the figure. I threw on my clothes and ran out of the house. When I got outside, it had already gotten about 100 meters away and must have jumped over a small fence at the back of the house. I ran along the road and saw the being out by the rye field to the left of the road. It was obvious that it was doing something there, but I couldn't see what. When I got closer to the rye field, the being rushed over to the wheat field on the other side of the road. I continued running towards the wheat field, and the being now disappeared down a slope. A slope where I stood and saw a disc-shaped object standing on a pair of telescope-like legs a bit further down. Just as soon, an unreal tiredness came over me, and at the same time, I felt a strange smell. The small creature climbed up a ladder right under the object. Soon, a sound was heard, like an electric motor starting, and the object slowly lifted. I was unable to move an inch. The object retracted its legs and disappeared at an enormous speed. Some nearby birches bent from the wind caused by its departure. As soon as my bodily paralysis released, I smell ozone. I take a deep breath, and there it is. A sharp, almost metallic tang that cuts through the usual smells. It's as if the air itself has been charged with a kind of electric energy. I close my eyes, and the scent grows more distinct, reminiscent of chlorine but more complex, more alive. Stunned by the experience, I stumble back to the cottage and tell my wife, who in no uncertain terms told me that she thought I had dreamed it all. She did not want to give weight to the story and wanted me to brush it off. It made me almost want to doubt myself. Could it have been something else? A heat stroke or a hallucination induced by the strange smell of ozone? The next morning, I was up at 5:30 and I went to Oscar, who I rented the house from. He was milking the cows. Not even Oscar believed me, but he still followed me to the rye field where we saw that a part of the rye was cut off about 10-12 centimeters from the top. The wheat field was trampled, and where the object had stood, we saw 3 holes that together formed a triangular shape in the ground. Then, Oscar seriously took into consideration what I had been through and began to ponder what it all really could mean. He knew my character well enough to reckon I was a stand-up person who would not easily fabulate or fabricate such a story. Perhaps this incident that reportedly took place in 1958 now makes you look at the rolling hills, lush forests, and undulating farmland in Sweden in a new light. If you visit and come upon the traditional Swedish houses painted in the classic red with white trims, the ancient stone walls, left from medieval times, and the old churches, you might think it's the epitome of a serenely close-knit community embedded within ageless tranquility. But we never know what storms our predecessors might have weathered in such places, being as surprised as we are that there are still mysteries, still questions beyond the given. Once again, I would encourage you to check out the Archives for the Unexplained. The Archives for the Unexplained, AFU, was founded in 1973 in Södertälje, Sweden, and moved to Norrköping in 1979. Since 1980, it has operated as an independent, non-profit foundation under Swedish law. Originally focused on UFO research, AFU broadened its scope in April 2013 to include all unexplained phenomena, reflecting the interconnected nature of these mysteries. Today, AFU is an international repository with significant collections from Scandinavia, the United Kingdom, and the continents of Europe and America. It is one of the world's most comprehensive archives of data on unexplained phenomena and UFO-related folklore, and aims to support researchers worldwide. Their extensive holdings cover over 4.2 kilometers of shelving and include a reference library of 20,000 titles, over 50,000 journal issues, around 500,000 newspaper clippings, and over 50,000 original European UFO reports. AFU is entirely dependent on donations, and for such organizations, the future is always uncertain. Check out the link in the episode description and find out how you can help them in their mission to document the unexplained. Do you like this episode and want to support our channel? Like and subscribe. Your feedback makes me humble and happy to keep producing new episodes. This week, I would like to give a special thanks to Mafbowers, Hosty, and Whiteness.eth. Thank you for supporting the channel, it means a lot. Would you also like to buy me a coffee? See the link in the description. Thank you for watching.